Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So one of the main arguments made by a ton of left-wing people at the moment that are in the space of gender transition or gender affirming care for kids is always down to the state of that child's mental health. So they always seem to claim that if a child is going to transition, then their mental health will significantly improve. But that's not the case. They don't have many studies at all to indicate that a child that transitions, their mental health would be significantly improved. In fact, it is more a case of that child's gender dysphoria needing to be looked at closely and not doing a drastic change of giving the child puberty blockers and stunting their adolescence or their ability to go through puberty before they've even had the chance to go through it. It's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? Recently, Dr. Jordan Peterson, who many of you may know who he is, he shared an article on Twitter recently by Springer, and it's quite a very interesting article. And what I'll do for you is I'll link it in the show notes below so you can read the whole article. But he looked at it and he basically said on Twitter, "Oh, look, the science indicates that there is no evidence that lying to vulnerable children and then butchering them because they're confused improves their mental health." The recent findings within this particular article and study found reviews of evidence conducted by public health authorities in Finland, Sweden, and England concluded that the risk/benefit ratio of young gender transition ranges from unknown to unfavorable. Now, the left is not going to like that because that completely flies in the face of everything that they're trying to push at the moment to say that, guess what? If your child goes through gender transition at an early age, it is going to benefit their mental health quite considerably. Not to mention the fact that that child probably is dealing with a mental health condition to begin with, and that is gender dysphoria. But no, we'll completely ignore that, and we've got to do something more drastic to try and fix what that child is no doubt feeling. Pain, suffering, internal anguish. That's what gender dysphoria does, I have you know, among many, many other things. As a result, there has been a shift from gender affirmative care, which prioritizes access to medical interventions, to a more conservative approach that addresses psychiatric comorbidities and psychotherapeutically explores the development etiology of the trans identity. The debate about the safety and efficacy of gender affirming care in the US is only recently emerging. This article was published on the 14th of April, so a few days ago now. But the purpose of this particular review was to look at the results of long-term studies of adult transgender populations, but they failed to demonstrate convincing improvements in mental health. This is among adults, not to mention kids. They don't have that data yet, but they're saying that it's unfavorable and unknown, which is not a good sign. If they've found in adults that there is no improvement in their mental health once they've transitioned, can you imagine what they're going to find with kids? And some studies suggest that there are treatment-associated harms, believe it or not. The purpose of this review is to clarify concerns about the rapid proliferation of hormonal and surgical care for the record numbers of youth declaring transgender identities and seeking gender reassignment procedures. I think every single politician should look at this document or this article and take it as fact, because it is fact. They're looking at studies overseas at the moment in Finland and Sweden, and they're noticing that an adult's mental health does not improve once they've transitioned. But yet the whole argument is that if a child goes to their parent, guess what? I am trans, and the parent goes to a gender affirmative care place, and the psychologist or the doctor says to the parent, all right, here's what we're going to do. In order to improve your child's mental health, we're going to transition them. We're going to give them puberty blockers. We're going to chemically castrate your child. Sure, that seems like a logical answer. That seems like the right thing to do. To fix my child's happiness and improve his mental health or her mental health state, we're going to chemically castrate them. Can you not see the stupidity in this? And yet, I have no idea how it's allowed to go on, how doctors are allowed to get away with this. I've said many times that politicians create laws because you have the small minority cry out, these activists cry out and say, we must have it this way. If we don't have it this way, we're going to cause havoc. And of course, we can't have that in our society, so we much rather bow down to your idiotic ideology that started with John Money, who is an absolute lunatic himself. The video for that is coming soon, I promise you. The summary, the question, do the benefits of youth gender transition outweigh the risks of harm? Well, I can answer that for you. No. Simple no. There are no benefits of youth gender transition at all. There are more harms, more risks associated with a youth or a child transitioning. They're not supposed to transition. No one is supposed to transition from what they're biologically born with. It doesn't work. It only wrecks the person even more. If you don't believe me, look at the hundreds of detransitioner stories. Young people that believed a lie, that transitioned and now are living with the severe consequences, and their voice is not heard loud enough. The only voice that is heard at the moment loud enough by the far left, the position of power at the moment, are the lunatics protesting, saying these queers bash back, or the queers that, or the trans individuals that attack innocent people, or the activists that say that I'm not allowed to enter into a woman's bathroom will be the final mistake you ever make. Or you got creeps like Jeffrey Marsh and Dylan Mulvaney teaming up. Or James Rose, James is smiling. You've got all these people on social media promoting this lunatic ideology. Dylan Mulvaney going to the White House to see the president, and the president basically doing everything except kiss the guy's damn feet, saying that we are going to protect trans kids. There's no such thing as the trans ideological nonsense for trans kids. It doesn't exist. It's gender dysphoria. That's what exists. Confused kids exist. And we need to look at it for what it really is. It is a crime against our children. It is destroying their lives, not improving them. And this study goes to show it. It is evidence. The far left has absolutely no evidence to prove at all that a child's mental health actually does improve once they transition. The conclusions of the systematic reviews of evidence for adolescents are consistent with long-term adult studies, which failed to show credible improvements in mental health and suggested a pattern of treatment-associated harms. 3 recent papers examined the studies that underpin the practice of youth gender transition and found the research to be deeply flawed. Evidence does not support the notion that affirmative care of today's adolescents is net beneficial. Questions about how to best care for the rapidly growing numbers of gender dysphoric youth generated an intensity of divisiveness, or yes, within and outside of medicine, rarely seen with other clinical uncertainties. And like I've said many times, my friends, it is absolutely outrageously insane how we are bringing this to the forefront of medicine today and how so many people are affirming this. It's unreal. It's unheard of before, at least in our lifetime. Because the future well-being of young patients and their families is at stake, the field must stop relying on social justice arguments and return to the long-time honored principles of evidence-based medicines. Amen. Amen to that. That's what we need to do. So here are some of the disagreements with scientific evidence. While several European countries recognize deficiencies in the evidence supporting the highly medicalized gender-affirming approach to treatment of gender dysphoric youth, in North America, the narrative that gender affirmative care has been scientifically proven has been remarkably resilient. Its justification rests on several key assumptions misrepresented as proven facts. So here we go. Number one, the emergence of a trans identity is the result of reaching a higher level of self-awareness. No, it's not. It's reaching a higher level of insanity. Whether the trans identity emerges in young children, older children, teens, or mature adults, it is authentic and will be lifelong. See, their whole argument is based on feelings rather than actual science and fact. You are going against something that is biologically unchangeable and claiming that you are living in your authentic truth, but yet you're going against something that was really authentic to begin with. Your biology makes no sense. Number three, all gender identity variations are biologically determined and inherently healthy, which is a downright and utter lie. Again, they're going to gender identity or trans identity. It's all about identity. Me. My identity. Number four, the frequently co-occurring psychiatric symptoms are a direct result of gender incongruence, the so-called minority distress model. Yeah, right. So basically, we are such a minority that this can't happen. We can't be a minority anymore. And so, like I've said, the minority gets pushed to the forefront and we bow down to this minority because they're so loud and it's annoying. Number five, the only way to relieve or prevent psychiatric problems is to alter the body at the earliest signs of puberty. No. Again, another lie. You don't alter puberty, which is natural and happens for every single child. You don't ruin that. Otherwise, you screw up the person even more. And I don't want to get into exactly what happens when you screw up a person's puberty, but let me just say this. It's not good. Number six, psychological evaluations and attempts to address psychiatric comorbidities should only be used to support transition. Number seven, attempts to resolve gender dysphoria with psychotherapy range from ineffective to harmful. No, it doesn't. It actually helps the person. And there's many cases whereby a person has gone through psychotherapy or other forms of psychiatric treatment that actually work. And if you leave the child alone, and if you don't affirm the insanity for that child, you let them go through normal puberty, which everyone has to go through or should go through, not run away from it, then yes, they will grow out of it. Number eight, gender dysphoric youth must have unquestionable social, hormonal, and surgical support for their current gender identities and desired physical appearance. See, again, it's all about how I want to look. It's all about how I feel, not anything to do with biology. It's I want to do this. I want to do that. So let's do it to children because they feel a certain way. It's ridiculous. Number nine, all individual embodiment goals, even those that do not occur in nature, must be fulfilled to the full extent technically possible. These aren't even scientific facts. And it's remarkable how North America, especially Canada and many, many other states are believing in these lies. It just amazes me how they're going so far against science. Now, unbelievable. Number 10, last one. Science has proven the benefits of early gender transition. No, it hasn't. And low rates of regret and detransition further validate the practice. Excuse me, look at so many cases of people that have chosen to detransition because they've realized, hey, we made the biggest mistake of our life. This is dangerous stuff. All those 10 points that I raised, they're all used to combat science and proven facts. They're not even sound at all or rational. I mean, I can just prove every single point that I read out and counteract it with facts and with logic and with science, with biology. But yet somehow the politicians in positions of power would look at this and say, all right, you're right. You're totally right about this. I believe everything you're saying. Those 10 points, fantastic. Let's use that. That's sound. That's logical. It's nowhere near it. It's far from it. And the fact that so many people today are willing to believe it, to bow down to it and say, let's make these laws to protect the trans community. Let's allow people to come to Colorado, for example, and mutilate their child, to chemically castrate them because they don't feel right in their body. Let's push a mental health condition to the forefront. Same thing with the whole body positivity movement. They're affirming a mental health problem. Absolutely unreal. And I'm glad that people like Jordan Peterson are at the forefront of this, and Matt Walsh and so many others that are speaking out against this. And I am now speaking out more and more against it because I am seeing the damage that is being done not only to our society, but our children. It's alarming, and more people should start waking up. And I hope that this video helped people to wake up and realize that, hey, this stuff needs to stop now. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll link below the actual article that I'm referring to so you guys can actually have a look at it. But I appreciate you all. You take care. You be blessed. You stay safe. And I'll see you all in the next video.